The flickering streetlights on the streets, the sounds of vehicles, and the hurried footsteps of people fade into the silent night. Amidst that familiar scene, there is another story, a hidden reality that few dare to look at directly. It is the story of forgotten destinies, of souls wandering in the darkness of a society built on light. This is not a work of fiction, but a raw and haunting reality about the state of homelessness in the US. It is an open wound in the heart of a nation, proud of its prosperity, a mirror reflecting the injustice and apathy we often try to avoid. Homelessness in the US is not just a statistical problem or a single social phenomenon. It is a multifaceted crisis, a reflection of the economic, social, and political instability seeping into modern society. In major urban centers, where skyscrapers soar, thousands of individuals and families have lost their homes, stripped of the most basic things that most of us take for granted. Over decades, the homelessness situation has worsened due to economic fluctuations, skyrocketing housing costs, and a widening wealth gap. This has pushed the most vulnerable to the margins of society. To understand the complexity of this issue, we need to look deeper into the numbers to uncover the human stories behind them. The reality is that a lack of affordable housing, coupled with rising rents and stagnant wages, has created a bleak picture. Parallel to these economic factors, challenges such as mental health issues and substance abuse also make this situation more complex. As a result, many homeless people have become trapped in a vicious cycle of poverty and instability, forced to exist precariously on the fringes of society, a journey through the hotspots of homelessness. To truly feel the depth of the homelessness crisis in the US, we must delve into the urban centers where it has taken root. Each city, each neighborhood tells a different story, but all show a heartbreaking truth. Behind the glamorous exterior is a raw reality. Manhattan, New York, a forest of shattered dreams and urban cracks. Close your eyes and imagine a freezing winter night in Manhattan. The cold wind is not just a breeze, but an invisible, sharp knife whistling through the gaps of thousands of glass and steel skyscrapers. It is a cold urban symphony, but for some, it is the symphony of loneliness. In that world of light and luxury, where every window is ablaze with lights, there are people huddled and shivering in tattered clothes, each gust of wind a harsh reminder of their existence. They are not just looking for a temporary shelter in the doorways of banks or luxury stores, but they are seeking a little warmth, a little safety amidst the coldness of humanity. They are no longer individuals with names, ages, or stories, but they have become a faint shadow, an invisible presence. And as thousands of others rush past, their eyes inadvertently glance over those fates, but do not stop. They are busy with appointments, parties, fulfilling lives, and beautiful dreams. Those homeless people are just a part of the urban landscape, like a public bench or a street lamp. They are a different world, a world where wealth and poverty coexist in a cramped space but never intersect. This contrast is not just a visual phenomenon, but a deep crack in the social fabric of Manhattan. It raises a haunting question. In a great city, is there room for those who have lost everything? Brooklyn, New York, the sighs amidst the tide of gentrification. Brooklyn, once a symbol of cultural diversity, where laughter, food, and stories from all over the world blended together, now carries a silent sadness. The streets with their historic red brick houses, small grocery stores, and close-knit communities are slowly being transformed. It is a cruel and irreversible economic change. The wave of gentrification is not merely about building fancy cafes or upscale apartment buildings. It is a process of social cleansing, pushing out the longtime residents who build the soul of this neighborhood from their own homes. Property values have skyrocketed and rents have climbed to an absurd level, turning familiar streets into a foreign place they can no longer afford. The sighs in the night are not just from individuals, but from an entire community that is falling apart. A craftsman had to close his workshop because he couldn't pay the rent, a family had to move after generations of living here, or a single mother has to struggle to find a new place to live with her meager salary. They are not failures. They are victims of an economic system that has forgotten the value of people. Brooklyn has lost a part of its soul. The old walls, small gardens, and stories of the past are gradually giving way to the glamour, uniformity, and coldness of new urban areas. This transformation is a painful testament that when economic development is not accompanied by social justice, the price to pay is the dreams and lives that once belonged here. The Skid Row, Los Angeles, the scar of modern society. If Manhattan is a place of shattered dreams in the light, then Skid Row is where dreams no longer exist. Located in downtown Los Angeles, Skid Row is not just a geographical area, but a painful scar on the body of a modern society. This is one of the most famous and also the most tragic examples of urban poverty in the US. When you step into Skid Row, you will no longer feel the glamour of Hollywood or the beauty of the California beaches. Instead, you will have to face a raw reality. Thousands of people living in makeshift tents, cardboard boxes, and shopping carts filled with their belongings. The air here smells of desperation, of failure, and of extreme resilience. Skid Row is a gathering place for forgotten lives, people who have been cast to the margins of society. They not only lack a roof to shelter from the sun and rain, but also have to face serious issues of mental health and addiction. Each tent here holds a heartbreaking story. It could be a veteran haunted by psychological trauma, a mother who lost her job and can no longer afford rent, or a young person who was pushed into the path of addiction. There are people whom the social safety net has forgotten, people who do not receive the necessary help to be able to stand up again. Skid Row is a harsh reminder that no matter how developed society is, there will always be deep cracks that not everyone dares to look at. It is not just a problem for Los Angeles, but a scar on the whole society, a silent call for empathy, responsibility, and action. Venice Beach, Los Angeles, a painful contradiction. Venice Beach, a name that evokes images of freedom, sunny afternoons, and gentle waves. It is a place where street artists perform, skateboarders glide in the wind, and tourists smile under the California sun. However, behind that vibrant curtain is a raw reality, a painful contradiction. This famous beach is also home to a large number of homeless people, individuals whom life has pushed to their limits. On the colorful boardwalk, makeshift tents spring up side by side, becoming a neighborhood with no address, a home for lost souls. The pulsating music of the artists, the laughter of tourists, and the rustling sound of the waves blend together, but they cannot cover up the sighs of those struggling to survive. Underneath the artistic murals, the homeless are looking for a little peace. They are not a part of the festive atmosphere, but witnesses to the wealth and happiness of others. Every day that passes, they have to face fear, hunger, and the coldness of the dark night. Venice Beach, with its gorgeous exterior, becomes a vivid testament to social injustice. The existence of homeless people right in the middle of one of the most famous tourist destinations in the world is a harsh reminder. It shows that in a developed society, there are still people who are forgotten. People whose dreams have been shattered right under the sun. Fremont Street, Las Vegas, light and shadow. Fremont Street in Las Vegas, with its glamorous name Las Vegas Strip, is famous for its dazzling neon lights and vibrant entertainment. Millions of people flock here every year to seek luck and joy. However, behind that glamour is a raw reality, a growing homeless community. When the neon lights illuminate a whole corner of the sky, many homeless people quietly look for a hiding place in the shadows. They are not a part of the entertainment party, but people who are struggling to survive. This contrast creates an incredibly painful picture. On one side is wealth and extravagance. On the other is poverty and desperation. The existence of a large homeless community right in the middle of this bustling entertainment center is a harsh reminder. It shows that in a developed society, there are still people who are forgotten. The dazzling neon lights cannot shine a light on the hidden corners of society, and the joyful laughter cannot erase the silent tears. Fremont Street is not just a tourist destination, but a vivid testament to social injustice. It raises a challenging question. Can we celebrate our wealth when there are still people who have to sleep on the streets? Capitol Hill, Seattle. Creativity and crisis. Capitol Hill in Seattle, with the captivating appearance of a vibrant cultural center, is where artistic cafes spring up side by side and galleries are filled with new ideas. However, behind that lively shell is a harsh reality. This area is heavily affected by soaring housing costs. This was once a paradise for young people, artists, and progressives. But the wave of development has turned Capitol Hill into a symbol of the housing crisis, where creativity is gradually being replaced by expensive high-rise apartment buildings. The residents who once belonged to this area, the people who created its soul, are now no longer able to afford to live here. The existence of a large number of homeless people right in the middle of this bustling neighborhood is a painful contradiction. Makeshift tents, sleeping bags, and unfortunate fates become a part of the landscape, next to vibrant bars and fashion stores. Capitol Hill is not just a reminder of social injustice, but also a challenging question. Can we call a city creative when it no longer has room for the people who created that creativity? Phoenix, Arizona, the heat of the desert and apathy. Phoenix, a city that has emerged as a symbol of economic development in the American Southwest, faces unique challenges. It is not just a modern metropolis, but also an arid desert land. The intense heat of the sun during the day becomes an invisible enemy, not only scorching the landscape, but also directly threatening the lives of the homeless. Rapid economic development, with new residential areas and sparkling shopping centers, has not brought benefits to everyone. The economic and population boom has created a housing crisis. Rents and real estate prices have increased dramatically, making it impossible for many low-income workers to stay. Families that once had a home are now struggling to survive on the streets, where the harshness of the desert weather becomes a painful sentence. The contrast between modern office buildings, equipped with cool air conditioning, and people who have to endure the suffocating heat is a haunting image. It raises a challenging question. Can a city be proud of its development when that wealth is built on the apathy and suffering of those pushed to the margins? Phoenix is not just a testament to social injustice, but also a harsh reminder that, in the race for development, human lives have been forgotten. 30th Street Station, Philadelphia, a reluctant shelter. 30th Street Station in Philadelphia, with its classic architecture and large waiting halls, is a bustling transportation hub, where thousands of passengers rush through every day. The loudspeaker announces the arrival and departure of trains, blending with the noise of the crowd, creating a symphony of movement and hope. However, this train station is not just a destination or a departure point. It has become a reluctant shelter for the homeless. Beneath the magnificent arches and amidst the hurried crowds, there are people quietly looking for a little peace. They do not have a train ticket, but they have a ticket to loneliness and coldness. They find temporary safety on the waiting benches, where they can avoid the rain and the cold of the winter night. The train station, with its light and warmth, has become a small paradise amidst their difficult lives. The existence of a homeless community right in a bustling transportation hub like 30th Street Station is a harsh reminder of social injustice. It shows that in a developed society, there are still people who are forgotten. The Tenderloin, San Francisco, a haunting contrast. The Tenderloin, a name that evokes hardship, is located right in the heart of San Francisco, one of the wealthiest and most innovative cities in the world. This neighborhood is a haunting contrast, where the prosperity of Silicon Valley stands in stark opposition to the daily struggle for survival. Walking through the Tenderloin, you will see makeshift tents, people huddled on the sidewalks, and the wounds of urban poverty. The persistent presence of homeless people here is not a coincidence. It reflects deeper issues of economic inequality and a lack of affordable housing. While real estate prices in San Francisco have climbed to unimaginable levels, many low-income workers and vulnerable people have been pushed out of their homes. The Tenderloin has become the last stop for those who have nowhere else to go. This contrast is not just a visual image, but a tragic story of a city that's forgotten a part of its population. San Francisco, with all its wealth and innovation, has not yet found a way to solve the problem of homelessness. The Tenderloin is a painful reminder of the cost of uneven development and the necessity of empathy. Analysis of the root causes of the homelessness crisis in the US. To truly understand the nature of the homelessness problem in the US, we must recognize that it is not a single phenomenon, but the result of a complex network of intertwined factors. This is not a failure of individuals, but a systemic failure of society as a whole, a public scar of broken systems. The most obvious and core reason is the lack of affordable housing. In major cities, which are considered centers of innovation and prosperity, rents and real estate prices have risen to unrealistic levels. Workers' wages cannot keep up with the pace of rising housing costs, pushing many low-income individuals into an unequal struggle for survival, where a small setback, like job loss or illness, is enough to make them lose their home. This situation is made worse by a widening economic inequality, which creates a system that seems to benefit only a few, while others have no support to stand on. Furthermore, this crisis is made more complex by issues of mental health and substance abuse. Many homeless people suffer from serious illnesses but do not receive timely treatment, creating a difficult cycle to escape. In addition, ineffective social policies also contribute to making the problem difficult to solve. Many relief programs are only temporary, failing to address the root causes. Finally, we cannot ignore the role of personal factors such as trauma and individual circumstances. Domestic violence, family breakdown, and painful life events can push a person into homelessness, leaving them unable to defend themselves against hardship. In short, the homelessness crisis in the US is a painful reminder of the failures of the system. This is a complex issue that requires empathy and action from the whole society to solve. Proposed solutions: a path toward empathy and reconstruction. To solve the problem of homelessness, we need a multifaceted strategy, combining emergency relief and sustainable reforms. One of the most effective approaches is the Housing First model, which prioritizes providing long-term housing for those in need, seeing it as the first step to stabilizing their lives. Next, cities need to invest heavily in affordable housing through cooperation between the government, nonprofit organizations, and private investors. At the same time, improving access to healthcare services is crucial, especially for those battling mental illness and addiction. These programs need to be integrated with housing initiatives to be most effective. Finally, job training and fostering community cohesion are key factors, helping the homeless reintegrate into society and find confidence and hope for a better future. Analysis of the root causes of the homelessness crisis in the US. Words and numbers can be dry, but the stories behind them contain suffering and hope. To truly understand the nature of the homelessness problem in the US, we must recognize that it is not a single phenomenon, but the result of a complex network of intertwined factors. This is not a failure of individuals, but a systemic failure of society as a whole, a public scar of broken systems. The most obvious and core reason is the lack of affordable housing. In major cities, which are considered centers of innovation and prosperity, rents and real estate prices have risen to unrealistic levels. Workers' wages cannot keep up with the pace of rising housing costs, pushing many low-income individuals into an unequal struggle for survival, where a small setback like job loss or illness is enough to make them lose their home. This situation is made worse by a widening economic inequality, which creates a system that seems to benefit only a few, while others have no support to stand on. Furthermore, this crisis is made more complex by issues of mental health and substance abuse. Many homeless people suffer from serious illnesses but do not receive timely treatment, creating a difficult cycle to escape. In addition, ineffective social policies also contribute to making the problem difficult to solve. Many relief programs are only temporary, failing to address the root causes. Finally, we cannot ignore the role of personal factors, such as trauma and individual circumstances. Domestic violence, family breakdown, and painful life events can push a person into homelessness, leaving them unable to defend themselves against hardship. In short, the homelessness crisis in the US is a painful reminder of the failures of the system. This is a complex issue that requires empathy and action from the whole society to solve. Conclusion: a mirror reflecting the future. The homelessness crisis in the US is a mirror reflecting the larger challenges that our society is facing. The 10 hotspots that we have explored, from the Tenderloin in San Francisco to Venice Beach in Los Angeles, provide a profound look into the multifaceted nature of the crisis. Each place tells a story of missed opportunities and found resilience, of communities that bear the burden of systemic neglect yet are nurtured by the hope for change. As we conclude this journey of exploration, let us remember that the homelessness crisis is not insurmountable. With empathy, collaboration, and a commitment to change, we can alter the landscape of our cities and the lives of our people. The journey we have taken together through the neighborhoods of the Tenderloin, Manhattan, Brooklyn, and many others is both a cautionary tale and a beacon of hope. It is a reminder that even in the darkest corners of urban centers, there is always the possibility of innovation and redemption. This is a call for us to build a future where social justice, equal opportunity, and compassion are not just ideals, but living realities. By engaging in meaningful conversations, supporting innovative policies, and fostering community solidarity, we can ensure that our cities become places where everyone has the opportunity to thrive. Let this be the starting point for deeper conversations and coordinated action. Together, we have the power to reshape our communities and build a future where hope triumphs over despair and every individual finds a place to call home.